Murphy's Comedy Club, episode 179. I am Rod Murphy, and this is Growing Up Poor in Irish Boston, a series of my 1950s era Irish and Boston songs, history, jokes, and stories, and never let the truth interfere with a good story. Mrs. Murphy comes home from her annual physical exam with a big smile on her face. Patty Murphy, her husband, looks up from the TV and asks, "Why are you so happy?" "Well," Mrs. Murphy says, "the doctor told me that for a 45-year-old woman, I have the physical attributes and the get up and go of an 18-year-old. Patty snorts and says, "Oh, yeah? And what did he say about your 45-year-old ass?" She smiles sweetly and says, "Actually, Patty, your name never came up in the conversation." And now for some short church jokes. In the third grade at St. Malachy's Catholic Church in Dorchester, little Ronan Murphy was asked by his nun, who was the French emperor that got imprisoned on the island of St. Helena? Ronan answered, "Linoleum Blownapart." They had a bingo evening at the Holy Redeemer Church Hall. Father Scanlon called out all the numbers in Latin so no atheist would win. "What do you say to the priest if you fart during confession?" "Bless me, Father, for I have wind." My husband and I divorced over religious differences. He thought he was God. I didn't. Going to church doesn't make you a Christian any more than standing in a garage makes you a car. God is not dead, he's alive and working on much less ambitious projects. Jesus walks into a hotel, tosses a box of nails on the front desk and says, "Can you put me up for the night?" As long as there are exams, there will be prayers in school. And now, Dr. Dan O'Rourke, a gynecologist, tired of all the malpractice insurance problems, paperwork, and just burnout, was looking for a new profession. Hoping to start a new career where his skilled hands would still be useful, he decided to become a mechanic. He enrolled in evening classes at a local technical college, studied diligently, and learned everything he could. When the practical exam finally arrived, O'Rourke prepared carefully and completed it with tremendous skill. A few days later, he received his results and was shocked to discover he had scored not 100%, but 150%. Assuming there had been some kind of mistake, he called the instructor. "I don't mean to sound ungrateful," he said, "but I think there may be an error in my score." The instructor replied, "Dan, during the exam, you took the engine apart perfectly. That earned you 50%. Then you put the engine back together perfectly. That earned you the other 50%. After a brief pause, the instructor added, "I gave you an extra 50% because you did the whole thing through the exhaust pipe, and I've never seen that done before." A keeper at the London Zoo goes into the primate house one morning and is shocked when one of the gorillas says to him, "I say, old chap, it's a little boring in here. Any chance of getting a little reading material to while away my time?" The keeper is flabbergasted and exclaims, "You talk?" "Yes," replied the gorilla. "I can read and write too. I'm quite familiar with science, history, politics, and the arts." So the keeper and the gorilla chat for a while, and the keeper agrees to bring the gorilla something to read. Later that day, the keeper returns with a copy of the Daily Telegraph, a book of short stories, and a television. "Good man," the gorilla says. "Can you put the TV on for me, as there's a cricket match on this afternoon?" The keeper goes off again, leaving the gorilla watching the cricket commentary and flipping through the paper. Over the next few days, the keeper brings several more books and spends some time chatting about all sorts of subjects with the gorilla. They talk about art, science, history, food, sport, fashion, you name it. The gorilla said to the keeper one day, "Look, I really appreciate the books and the TV and our conversations. But any chance you could give me something I could really get my teeth into?" So the keeper thinks for a few minutes and promises something a bit more challenging. The next day. The following morning, the keeper comes in and hands the gorilla 2 books. One is on the origin of the species by Charles Darwin, and the other is a copy of the Bible. For the next 2 weeks, every time the keeper visits the enclosure, the gorilla is sitting on his bed, nose buried in one of the other books, and not interested in food or conversations. Getting rather concerned, he goes in one morning. He finds the books closed and the ape looking a little puzzled. The gorilla eats his breakfast for the first time in days, and the keeper is just about to leave again when the gorilla says to him, "I have one question." The keeper turns back and raises an eyebrow inquiringly. Both books were fascinating, and I managed to get a good idea of the creationist view and the evolutionary view. I can see the argument for and against each philosophy, but I have one thing that's troubling me. "Fire away. I'll try if I can answer it," the keeper responds. "So," the gorilla began, "am I my brother's keeper, or am I my keeper's brother?" This is Rod Murphy. Thank you for viewing or listening to my YouTube and podcast episodes. I really appreciate it. If you enjoy them, please hit the subscribe button. It does not cost you anything, and it helps me to grow my audience. Again, my thanks. Note, some of my viewers and listeners have asked how they could comment on my episodes. There is a note at the top of each episode. It's called "Send Us a Text." Click that, and you would be able to comment. Also, former redhead at protonmail.com is my podcast email if you would like to contact me. So it's former redhead, I used to have red hair, former redhead at proton, P-R-O-T-O-N, mail.com is my podcast email. Thank you.